the liar who defiled the name of Hokuto Shinken, was at last unmasked and brought to a violent end. But where was the real Toki? It was then that Mamiya appeared before the troubled Kenshiro and Rei. She had discovered Toki's true whereabouts. Cassandra. A prison city filled with the most vicious criminals in the land. Once imprisoned there, it was said that death was the only escape. Inside, surrounded by the echoes of tormented prisoners, Toki waited, helpless. Following Rei and Mamiya's lead, Kenshiro prepared to infiltrate the city. Before them, the immovable, impenetrable, immortal legend awaited.
Kenshiro! To come here, you must be brave, certainly. But you have also proved you are reckless.
I would only be reckless if I thought I couldn't succeed.
Chapter 6. Into the Darkness.
I'll say it again. Hokuto Shinken is invincible.
Toki is being held in a dungeon known as Cassandra.
Yes, Cassandra, the world's only open-air dungeon. Really, that's a pretty good selling point. This level isn't nearly as gimmick-heavy as the last one. I think it finds a fair balance between the variety and the just plain old smack 'em around with giant pillars combat. I like this group of enemies with arrows just hanging out in the corner, all grouped together. Makes it a lot easier to smack them all at the same time. Don't even have to bother getting them together ourselves. There are a lot of guys with motorcycles around here, but thankfully there are no villagers to worry about this time, so we can avoid a catastrophe similar to that other time there were villagers and motorcycles around. Look, we tried our best, and that's all that matters. That's not going to be on my mind for the rest of my life. We did what we could. It's actually really easy to get the motorcycle guys down here, because there's so many things in their way that they have to move around, like these sandbags. And then after you get rid of the motorcycle enemies, and assumedly you already got rid of the archers, it's just a big wad of normal enemies to deal with, and you know how to deal with those. So you may have noticed that there aren't really enemy types aside from the commanders. All of the normal enemies just come in one variety. Or you'd think so, but there are actually two varieties. They're the normal fellows with weapons, like this guy. And then there are the Fang Clan-esque enemies which have claws. And they do appear a few other times besides with the Fang Clan, like in the last level with Amiibo. They were around with the normal enemies. And that makes sense because they were called specimen hunters, and if someone's not going to come willingly, you can always just, you know, scrape a chunk of their flesh off. That works just as well, right? Speaking of which, we are actually going to learn why Amiibo was taking specimens. It's not stated very explicitly in the game, but you have to read between the lines and you'll be able to figure it out. The story in Ken's Rage, as I think someone already pointed out, is very abridged. But it does make a better effort at preserving the dramatic moments in the story than a lot of other Dynasty Warriors licensed games do.
That's a real pain in the neck. You don't suppose we could borrow it?
So it is possible to roll through the ballista's shots, but you have to roll as soon as you hear the damn thing fire, and that can be very difficult. You don't get very much time to react. And there's no safe place to hide either. Thankfully, they only get to fire it 3 times. So I think we get to use a ballista twice. In this level, we never get to shoot it at anything living. But we still get to see a demonstration of its power. We're supposed to break down this wall over here with it, but instead, let's fire it at this broken down van first, and see what it does. That's what I'm talking about. Now, your first instinct might be to use this ballista to open up secret passageways, but we can't do that yet. The only 2 things we can fire it at are that van and that wall.
We should be able to see it soon. Cassandra, the city of wailing demons.
Wow, Mamiya, do you think that was anime enough? You want to try again? You could have added another descriptive word in there, you know, to make it sound even more impressive. Like the hopeless city of wailing demons, or the dark city of wailing demons. The abyssal city of wailing demons. Alright, that sniper is getting on my nerves. So this should show you exactly how far the boulder splitting wave extends upward, and the answer is almost as high as you can imagine, because we took that sniper out with it on our first try. This is going to be the stage where I use the boulder splitting wave as much as possible, because we're about to get rid of it. And I really like it, so I'm going to make sure it gets its due. Also, it only takes the 1 Spirit Reserve unit to use. Bam! A lot better than the 100 Crack Fist, which costs exactly as much. It's the most useful of the single Spirit Reserve unit special moves. But you know, we're graduating now. We're going to graduate to all 2 Spirit Reserve unit moves. Except for the 7 Stars of Death, which I think we have equipped now, but we're not going to use it here. It's the ability that we can use to open up doors, those hidden doors that we haven't used so far. And we're not going to for a while, but we have the move for them now. It's really only useful for those doors. Trying to use it in combat is really stupid because it does almost no damage, especially for something called the 7 Stars of Death.
The city of wailing demons. Cassandra.
This place is huge. I'll go do some reconnaissance.
They don't exactly tell you where Ray runs off to. Mamiya's all, I'm gonna go do some recon. But Ray just kind of vanishes. So we learned about the Warden of Cassandra's name right now, Warden Uyghur. And I like saying his name, Uyghur. Uyghur. There were 2 commanders here, but since we had our spirit gauge ready, we just took out one of them with the traditional method. And the other one should be no issue by himself. After we're done with him, though, we're going to go see where Mamiya ran off to. Because this is one of the few situations where we can actually see where she left at. And it can be a tiny bit confusing if you haven't played as Mamiya before. Because it looks like an area where there should be extra stuff for you, but there's not. There's a lot of Walla in the background in this level, and it's really confusing to my ears. Yay, the doors are open to hell.
Open the gates! After today, no more innocents will be held within these walls.
So if we follow these fleeing enemies, we'll get to go see where Mamiya ran off to. And like I said, it seems like an extra area. But this is just where you go normally if you're playing as Mamiya. There are a lot of alternate pathways, too, where you think there might be some skill points or something, but there's really nothing over here. I mean, we got skill points just now, but that's because we were kicking ass, so that doesn't count. And after we find Mamiya's secret entrance hole, we can head back to the hopelessly abyssal city of wailing demons. And here's the hole right here. It's what she uses to enter Cassandra instead of the main gate. And we can't crawl through there because we're too beefy. Alright, we're back to the gates of hell, and we just picked up some spirit reserve, which we're not going to be using for this entire area.
The only way to get further inside is through that gate. It's okay. You did your best. Turn back now before it's too late. Can you hear them? The cries, the wicked, repenting for their sins. Hey you! Help! Quick, while the guards aren't looking! Oh, you have no idea how grateful I am. Toki should be in the farthest cell. Please! Let us out! We're saved! But could you please help the rest of the villagers too?
This place is death. None can ever escape. Leave me alone. The punishment for defying Warden Uyghur is death.
Okay, wait, so is this prison death, or is Warden Uyghur's law death? Because either way, you're gonna die, presumably, right? One is not worse than the other. Back on track, it doesn't matter which order we free the prisoners in, we always have to come back up here to collect the information from this guy.
You might just be strong enough. All right, I'll tell you a secret. There used to be a path through here. If only there was some way of destroying this rubble.
There is. Stand back. Thank you.
And here's some more spirit pickups for us, even though there's no way we could have used any back there unless we for some reason decided to use a signature move on those bars. Boulder fucking Splitting Wave. Those guys are just gone. All of them. Oh no, I missed one. That's okay. We're gonna go get him. And that way we can throw him into physics objects. 2 of them. That might have been 3, I'm not sure. Either way, I'm absolutely positive that he had it coming.
Help us!
Well, don't worry, helping people is what we do, so just hang on and we'll be right there. I promise everything will be... Well, one of you is still alive. It's actually scripted so that all of them are supposed to die every time, but sometimes that single guy makes it. And here's the second time we get to operate a ballista, after we get rid of the commander, of course. But come on. I can't say that like it's a big deal. We just stick our thumbs in his nipples and he explodes. It's pretty routine at this point. This time we actually get to use the ballista for more creative reasons. There are hidden passages this time around.
What's the matter? Scared?
I wouldn't feel good using it unless we could get all these guys out of the way first, though. It would make me feel unclean. Not because I'm afraid of hitting them, don't get me wrong, but because I don't want them interrupting our special moment with the ballista.
What the?
Right here we get to use the ballista on these normally unbreakable fences to reveal some hidden passageways. Now that hidden passageway has nothing in it. But this one, on the other hand, has some goodies for us. Now, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't believe Mamiya can use the ballista like Ken and Ray can. I believe she always has to find alternate methods through the level. Hey look! A perfect opportunity to use the boulder splitting wave.
My orders are to leave no one alive.
Guns on Ryo-san-ha!
That was also a very good opportunity to use Awakening of the Senses, but that cost 2 Spirit Reserve units. I do believe I accidentally lied last level and said this is the one where I would show off Awakening of the Senses. It turns out it's the next one. When you record things ahead of time, you forget stuff. But that's okay, because I'm sure you like the boulder splitting wave just as much as I do. I mean, how couldn't you? So this entire mission bonus isn't anything special to speak of, aside from the fact that we used a ballista to get here. But there is one of the hardest mission bonuses in the game coming up. Alright, we're back here, and this time we're going to head down the main path. And by that, I mean we're going to be on the main path just long enough to get some skill points, and then we're going to leave again. And here are those skill points. Up here is one of the largest alternate pathways in the game, and as I said, it also houses one of the hardest mission bonuses. And we are actually very near the end of the stage at this point, like right up there is the exit, but we want to go get that mission bonus first. You might see a single blue dot on this map, and depending on how good you are at enemy control, that single blue dot may be the bane of your existence.
Help! Please, let me out! You really did it! Alright then! Can you take me over there?
Welcome to our very first escort mission. There will later be another one that takes up an entire stage, but I kinda like that one more. Now, I don't really have a problem with escort missions, so when I said this could be hard or frustrating, it's not because I believe it's cheap. It's just that if you screw up, you have to restart the entire level to get the mission back. That's the only thing that I don't like so much about it. You might also notice that our villager only has half a health bar. This means that 2 hits from a normal enemy will put him out for good, and 1 hit from a commander will do him in. As soon as enemies spawn, we want to look at our map and use our widest attack possible to keep all the enemies away from him at the same time. Because they do actively go after the villager instead of you. They even try to circle around you to get to the villager. So you need to pay attention and remember that you can't fight like you normally would. So don't let that green circle on the map fool you. After the villager reaches that green circle, the escort mission continues onto the next map. And he gets accosted by 2 more groups of enemies. We're going to go ahead and skip to the very last one. This very last group has a commander in it, but you probably saw that coming. This can be extra dangerous because the commander tends to move independently of everyone else. Everybody else moves in a somewhat predictable pattern, but the commander just goes wherever the hell he wants. The key to this fight, just like all the others, is to use your widest attack to keep everybody back. Try and make sure you get the commander grouped in with the rest of the enemies wherever possible. And for God's sake, if you lose track of him, go back to the villager. Thankfully, after the commander is down, you're pretty much done here. This whole escort mission isn't so bad if you're obsessive about using only your wide attacks and stay as close to the villager as possible. I can imagine if you just kept retrying the level and fought the enemies as you normally would, that it might get frustrating. But you know, some basic strategy makes the situation a lot easier.
Thanks. Make sure you give him hell.
Is that you, Kyle Travers? Where have you been?
Wait right there! You're done, punk!
Well, here's my very quick response to that. And I know what you're thinking, that wasn't enough, that was only one side of the enemies, but that's okay. I got you covered. And the best part is that even after we use these 2 boulder-splitting waves, we still have 1 more Spirit Reserve unit, so we can use the Fist of Penitence on the commander. Really, there are very few ways that this could have gone any better. And after we mop up here, we get to face off with Warden Uyghur, who's actually a pretty tough boss battle, and he takes forever to defeat.
What is this?
If you think I'll just let you through to Toki, think again.
See, I told you guys, those were totally the gates to hell. So Warden Uyghur has the same moves as giant enemies like Boss Fang, and a lot of Hearts moves as well, except for the ones that require his fat. He also has that brand new combo he just used on us. And he has a shoulder charge that he's very fond of. In order to actually win against Warden Uyghur, you need to have gotten good at this point at dodging in the middle of your attacks. He's insanely good at interrupting your combo with his own, even when you're using really quick attacks like your double uppercut kick. See, like that. He just constantly is on the offensive, so until he's in a state of Meridian Shock, you don't want to mess around with long combos. But after he's vulnerable, go nuts, because he isn't going to be vulnerable for very long. Man, where do you even get a helmet like that in the post-apocalypse? Did he have that custom made? Oh, here he's about to use his grab, I think. Yep. Very easy to dodge, even easier than Heart's grab. And we fought Heart a while ago.
Now, teach the enemy the meaning of fear.
The AI's retreat mode pathfinding seems to have taken some inspiration from Dynasty Warriors Gundam. Anyway, just like Amiibo, Uyghur is a huge jerk. And he summons 2 commanders for us to fight. Luckily, we know how to deal with them by now. Or we used to, except this time I intend to take them both out without using my spirit mode. I want to reserve that for what's coming up next, where we'll need it more. As you're hopefully seeing, the key to taking out 2 commanders without your spirit mode is simply to keep both of them busy with your attacks. Change the direction of your attacks in mid-combo if you need to. Normally you just use your spirit mode for it, though. But hey, you can't say you didn't watch me fight 2 commanders without the Fist of Penitence at least once.
I don't want to die!
So immediately after that battle, the game sends 2 more commanders at you in an attempt to hopefully wear you down. But thankfully we were smart and saved this up.
Oh God, no! Bokuto Shinken is as impressive as they say, but the legend of Cassandra will not be broken.
So in his second form, Uyghur gains a new shoulder charge. It's a lot like his first, except it lasts way longer and it hits way harder. There are very few times I've been able to dodge it successfully. And no, in case you're wondering, that one he did just now was not it. And neither was that one. You'll know when you see it. But aside from that, the strategy here is mostly... Ah, here it is. Yeah, that one. He's very likely to knock you into walls with it, which deals twice as much... Well, not twice as much, but almost twice as much damage. He's weak to Awakening of the Senses, just as Amiibo was. I'm not sure why. I feel like Boulder Splitting Wave should be his weakness. But maybe they expected you to have gotten rid of Boulder Splitting Wave at this point, and they didn't want you to be left without a way to hurt him seriously. But aside from his new charge attack, which is painfully difficult to dodge, there's not much else you need to worry about. The strategy is mostly the same as it was the first time. Just keep in mind he attacks a whole lot. I always thought it was really weird how long this stage is in actuality, in spite of how short it feels in practice. Like, what even happened in this stage? We hit some guys, we used a ballista twice, and we ran around in a circle and watched Warden Uyghur waddle after us.
You are already dead.
No. They mustn't. Those 2 mustn't be allowed to meet. Hokuto! Goretsuha!
These fists have seen more than you can imagine.